What if everything you know about history comes from the few books that survived, while thousands of others disappeared forever? Some were consumed by fire, some were destroyed by war, but others vanished for a far more unsettling reason. Someone wanted them gone. Imagine entire civilizations losing their memories, philosophers whose greatest works were never read again, and libraries that held knowledge the world may never recover. Was it simply the passage of time, or were some of history's most important books deliberately erased? Tonight, we're opening the vault of forgotten history to uncover the books that disappeared, the secrets they carried, and the questions they left behind. Throughout history, humanity has fought countless wars, built powerful empires, and created civilizations that changed the world. But behind every civilization was something even more valuable than gold or territory: knowledge. Books were the memory of humanity. They carried the discoveries of scientists, the ideas of philosophers, the stories of forgotten kingdoms, and the secrets of people who lived thousands of years before us. But unlike stone monuments or ancient ruins, books are fragile. A single fire, a single order, or a single moment of destruction could erase centuries of human thought forever. And the most terrifying part is this: we will never know exactly what was lost. Because history is not only the story of what survived, it is also the story of everything that disappeared. In this journey, we will uncover some of the most mysterious lost books in history, the knowledge they may have contained, and the unanswered questions they left behind. For thousands of years, humanity has wondered about one question: what knowledge disappeared before we ever had the chance to discover it? And perhaps no place represents this mystery more than the legendary Library of Alexandria. More than 2,000 years ago, on the coast of Egypt, a city was created with an impossible dream: to collect the knowledge of the entire world. That city was Alexandria. Under the rule of the Ptolemaic dynasty, Alexandria became a place unlike anywhere else on Earth. Scholars, philosophers, mathematicians, and scientists traveled from distant lands, bringing with them ideas, discoveries, and ancient writings. At the center of this intellectual revolution stood the Library of Alexandria. It was not just a building filled with books. It was an attempt to preserve human memory itself. Thousands of scrolls were collected there, containing works about medicine, astronomy, mathematics, philosophy, literature, and the history of forgotten civilizations. Some of the greatest thinkers of the ancient world walked through its halls. They studied the stars, questioned the universe, and explored ideas that would shape the future of science. But then came the mystery. Somewhere along the path of history, the great collection of Alexandria began to disappear. The image most people know is simple: a massive library destroyed by one enormous fire. But the truth is far more complicated. Historians believe that the library and other collections of knowledge in Alexandria suffered damage from multiple events over centuries: wars, political conflicts, and the gradual decline of the ancient world. Yet the question that continues to haunt historians is not only how it disappeared, it is what disappeared with it. What discoveries were written on those lost scrolls? Were there medical ideas that could have changed the course of history? Scientific observations that were centuries ahead of their time? Stories of civilizations whose voices vanished forever? We may never know. Because when a building is destroyed, we can rebuild its walls. But when knowledge disappears, there is nothing left to rebuild. The Library of Alexandria became a symbol of something humanity has experienced again and again throughout history. The loss of knowledge is not just the loss of information. It is the loss of possibilities that will never exist again. But Alexandria wasn't the only place where humanity lost knowledge. Centuries earlier, one of the greatest thinkers who ever lived wrote hundreds of works. His name was Aristotle. And here's the strange part. We know that many of his books existed. We know their titles. We know they were read. Ancient writers even quoted from them. But most of those works are gone, not hidden in some secret vault, not waiting to be discovered beneath a forgotten temple. Simply gone. And that leaves us with a fascinating question. What did Aristotle write that the modern world will never get to read? But Aristotle's lost works were only one example of a much larger story. Throughout history, books didn't disappear for just one reason. Some were lost to time, Some were destroyed by fire or war, and some disappeared because powerful people believed that certain ideas should never survive. One of the clearest examples takes us to ancient China. In 221 BCE, Qin Shi Huang conquered the rival kingdoms and became the first emperor to unite China under a single rule. But after unifying the land, the emperor faced another problem. China had too many competing ideas about how society should be governed, how people should behave, and what a ruler should be, and books preserved those ideas. According to ancient historical accounts, the Qin government ordered the destruction of certain writings and punished scholars who challenged its authority. The goal wasn't simply to get rid of old paper. It was to control the ideas that could shape the future. And this is where the story becomes unsettling. Because once a ruler decides which books are allowed to survive, they are no longer just controlling the present. They are influencing what future generations will believe about the past. But China wasn't the only civilization to experience the destruction of its written memory. Thousands of miles away, in the Americas, the Maya had created something remarkable. They developed one of the most sophisticated writing systems of the ancient world and recorded astronomy, calendars, rituals, royal dynasties, and their own history in books made from bark paper. Yet today, only a tiny number of pre-Columbian Maya codices are known to survive, and many were lost during the Spanish conquest. In 1562, at Mani in the Yucatan, the Spanish bishop Diego de Landa ordered the destruction of Maya religious books and objects. According to his own later account, hundreds of Maya books were burned. Think about what that means. A civilization had spent generations recording its understanding of the world, and in a matter of hours, much of that written memory could be reduced to ash. But unlike Aristotle's missing works, we have surviving Maya codices, only a handful, enough to give us a glimpse into a civilization that was far more complex than the fragments of history once suggested, and that makes their survival almost as fascinating as their destruction. Because sometimes, history doesn't leave us a complete story. It leaves us fragments and asks us to imagine everything that disappeared between them. And perhaps that is the most dangerous thing about lost books. We can never know exactly what they would have taught us. The Library of Alexandria showed us how an entire world of knowledge can disappear. Aristotle's lost works reminded us that sometimes we can know a book existed without ever knowing what was inside it. In ancient China, we saw what happens when political power decides which ideas are allowed to survive. And in the Maya world, centuries of knowledge were reduced to fragments, leaving only a handful of books behind. 4 stories, 4 different civilizations, and yet they all leave us with the same uncomfortable question. How much of what we call history is actually what's left after centuries of destruction? How many discoveries were made, only to disappear? How many stories were written, only to be forgotten? And how many ideas vanished so completely that we don't even know we are missing them? Perhaps the most frightening part of lost history isn't the books we know were destroyed. It's the books we don't even know existed. Because when a piece of history disappears completely, we don't get a blank page telling us something is missing. We get silence. And sometimes, that silence is the greatest mystery of all.